beloved Ascension Pioneers, and welcome Divine Companions. Today I have a topic for all of us that deals with Ascension and what Ascension really is, again, in terms of the unification of soul and spirit. So this is something interesting and something just so important for us to understand, also from our human perspective, not just what we already feel somehow in our soul awareness. So the deeper we go now in our physical ascension, the more we're starting to understand that ascension takes place in the physical body. So your physical body is the sacred vessel for this light alchemy taking place when there's an inner marriage happening. So this inner marriage doesn't just deal with what everybody talks about, the sacred marriage of the twin soul essence, but it's an inner marriage of your intrinsic self as your source and your creation self. So the unification of soul and spirit has to deal with you embracing yourself as source, but also your individualized creation aspect, so your soul self. Spirit is how some like to refer the yang self, so that divine knowledge, divine logic, divine will and understanding. And soul is pure feeling, it's creation, life experience. So oftentimes in our human experiences, when we were moving deeper and deeper into ascension, a lot of times we had these experiences that sometimes we only related to purely from spirit, from knowing, or completely feeling based, and that still kept us a bit in separation. So with unification of soul and spirit, what takes place is this beautiful alchemy when we start to understand that the feeling side, which is joy, when we understand our relationships and our experiences and everything that has to deal with life in creation, in matter, and all of our different multiversions of the self, in terms of relating to another, to others, through feeling, through joy, and that knowing that that's not separate from spirit, because it is spirit that actually gives birth to soul. They're in union, they always have been. It's just us that we have created this sometimes very much dualistic experiences that never really kept us in our true core essence, which ascension is. It's you doing this inner work of sacred alchemy. This takes place naturally within you as spirit merges with your soul, so your source self, creation self become one, and we call this, like I already said before, the white column, the pillar of ascension light, and the white mother flame purely flows through you. So you start to understand your human experiences or any other experiences in different parallel realities in a very more flow, organic nature. And you don't just refer to them as when you're looking for guidance and you're looking direction, either just spirit-based or just soul-based, because you're no longer separating the two. So when you're looking for direction in your life, you don't say just spirit show me or soul show me. You have this unified completion inside of you, and life guides you, because life in creation is of source. And you understand that there is no separation. So what your feelings are telling you through joy, it's not separate from the spirit knowing. Sometimes the mind likes to create separation, and you have a vision for yourself that is purely spirit-based. And you understand it, you have that vision, you hold it. But sometimes there's experiences happening that you can't relate to that vision, so you create the separation because you think they have nothing to do with it, and you push them aside. And this is when we come from separation mode. Sometimes people come, relationships come, we can't clearly resonate with all parts of it, so we push it aside. But these are a part of it. Whenever we feel a joy for something, even if it's not that thing we envision for the greater, we have to understand that spirit always works for the greater good of all. So if we feel joy for something through our soul, the joy is the language of the soul. Spirit is that pure knowing that is neutral, agenda-free, non-manipulative, completely benevolent in its essence. So it's that divine truth speaking through you, but at the same time, soul has a way of guiding you through that truth, so they're one. And in the past, we've all been guilty of that sometimes, we've only based our experiences, we were maybe too much vertical or just too much horizontal. There's a lot of beings who were maybe only horizontal, completely disengaged from their spirit self. So in this ascension process that takes place in our body, this awareness from our soul that is seated, it's rooted in our bodies, then we do this alchemy. And it's just how it is. This also has to deal with us merging our left and right brain hemisphere. I was just talking about this with two people today, and I felt this is somehow important because of that to also mention in the video, because when we were traveling through many different realities and experiences, maybe some souls were migrating more to the experiences of the left side brain, so they were developing the skills in that direction, and maybe some were more in the right brain hemisphere direction. And we have to understand that we are intrinsic. It's all connected, even though we might have different experiences and how we relate to creation. Some might be creative in one aspect and not so much in other aspects. And the thing is always this union. So there are souls who have been through everything, and they have gathered the different knowledge and wisdom from all these counterparts, and they have merged, and they are already in this oneness from in right and left brain hemispheres, and they can unify. They don't just exist in one form. And the thing is that sometimes if we're too just right brain, we can be so heart-centered. Sometimes we can be naive or forgetful, or not relate to also understanding that we also have a mind for a reason, not just a heart, but not that lower mind which tries to control everything. It's divine logic and understanding of these principles, of sacred truths, and how it all relates, and how you will then apply it in your life through the heart. So this needs to be merged. Sometimes some people are only left brain, which is total control. Everything needs to be structured. It's very organized. And when we will recognize this in ourselves, we will be able to see. So we will see where we need deeper union within the self. This is the sacred alchemical marriage. And a lot of beings, they're seeking for this union of everything, merging all the polarities, and they seek it in another person. And yet we cannot unify with another who might be in complete wholeness already, when we don't yet before do our inner sacred wholeness and union. So when we do this own sacred inner alchemy, and this longing to have that been done for you outside of you is just an expression of you longing to do that internally. So you cannot become something through another. Sometimes people want to push and pull themselves to another being and become a part of their world. Sometimes, they want to collide with another universe, because we are multi-dimensional beings and we are our own universes, tiny little counterparts. And the thing is that we cannot collide in oneness and unity. We cannot unify before we have that unification within us. And understanding our creation part, who we are in creation, how we are meant to be, how we think, how we put logic into our lives, how we think through the heart as well. And a lot of times I've noticed it also deals with how we perceive ourselves in our bodies. Let's take an example of sacred sexuality. Some beings take a completely carnal, dense approach to sexuality, while maybe other beings only relate to it through the heart. But the sacred sexuality is body, mind, soul, spirit, everything is one. Because you need to understand that when you have a man and a woman who are completely perfect in wholeness in their unified sacred masculine and feminine essences, they don't need to engage in something that comes from the external, or they don't just relate to a certain chakric point. They merge all. So they understand, they have the knowing inside of them that when they relate through body and soul and spirit, it holds them always in oneness, they will have to birth something in the physical, because that's what they have bodies, that's what they have form. So the grounding essence is also important. When you only experience sexuality through the heart, some people might say sexuality is bad. They have these beliefs. It's only as bad as you make it for yourself. There's still separation here when you think this way. And some people say, I have tingles all over my body, I can feel sensations, but they never really put them also in through the base and into the earth. They cannot yet fully relate to the physical creation aspect of the importance of what really sacred sexuality is. It's our own infinite soul's creativity. And when two can come together in that space, they also together can be in that unification process. But remember, that takes place within us first. And a lot of us are going through this process. This process also includes us not being triggered by the differences of others, because if we're triggered by something, it means that something's still not embraced, or something we still judge within us. Because we need to know that if something we don't like about someone, in terms of just resonance or not resonance, when it's neutral, it's okay. It's just how it is. We're not all compatible, and our soul essences, although we're one. It doesn't mean we're all going to be married to each other, or we're going to do stuff together all the time. It just means that we're just different, and our own variation of creation serves a certain purpose. When we take this personally and we're triggered, it's another story. But why this is important to understand is that the deeper we go into love, the deeper we go into this alchemy and unification, the more we understand that every being in our life brings us a message, brings us an aspect of the self mirrored back to us, whether we like it or not. Sometimes we like to hear the things we like to hear, but we ignore those that we don't and push them aside. And I know examples of this in some people, and we all do that. Again, we're all guilty of that sometimes. And the key factor here is recognizing it. It's just awareness. It's not judgment. We need to be aware of that. Because the more that we are aware of it, the more that we can invite the space of our true knowing, of unification, of unity, of the white mother flame, which is all. But it's still going to be uniqueness. We're still going to be unique. And not all uniquenesses will always match. It's just how it is when you're cooking a soup. You don't put all ingredients in it. They don't all add up. All tastes don't match. You know, alchemy is the art of knowing what essences can be combined together to create something that is magical. And this is what soul alchemy means. And there were already great teachers of that, you know, Saint Germain, for example, and a lot of others who carried this wisdom, and we all do. And the thing is that when we can relate to others in terms of all are our mirrors, and all bring us important aspects, and we will no longer just say, I have a spirit connection with this person, I have a soul connection with this person, I have just a human personal relation and connection with this person. We need to unify. We need to see what unites us, not what we don't like about other people, and you know, what just doesn't resonate somehow, it's okay. It's a pointer at what is your natural flow, how soul guides you, and maybe what's unnatural to you, because resonance always shows what's natural to your soul and what is not. That's it. But to be triggered by something, it still shows us where we're in separation mode. Because if we embrace something or someone as they are, because we embrace ourselves and all of the parts. We don't need to show them that this is not, you know, and sometimes we defend ourselves or over-explain and analyze, and we can be teachers to others instead of just sharing, companions, neutral, you know, all equals, divine complements. Sometimes we do that and we play these roles, which again are not neutral or not soul-based. And these are like tiny little traps and sabotages that we put for ourselves. And when love is true, love is free. And this free love doesn't mean we're going to be like hippies, you know, oh, we can be with everybody. It just means that we will invite and we will have an open space of love for everybody, for everyone who will show us respect and who can be in union with us. It doesn't mean they're always going to be the same with us. There's not always going to be sameness. But it also means that when we choose to co-create with somebody, we will again do it through the unification process, through alchemy of the soul. It will be compatible. It will not be like opposites. Opposites is the old karmic way. The complements, divine complements, is the way of the new ascending reality, which means that you know which things and essences go together, and it's just natural. It's not somebody says, I want to be with that person, I want to become like them, and they try so hard. When it's natural, it's natural. When things match, they just do. In nature, everything is organic. Plants know where to grow, which plants grow together, which don't match. It's the same. It's supposed to be natural, the same with us, and it is. But we have somehow disconnected ourselves from our natural organic self, and we play these roles, and we try hard, and we pushed against the flow, and it's just not natural to us. And this is where we create separation and pain. Sometimes people say, I will feel pain at the thought or even the reality of losing somebody, and there's no losing somebody. It's just losing a different, let's say, an aspect that you think this relationship is supposed to have and integrate. Let's say you want to be lovers, but you're supposed to be friends, and you're so pushy, and maybe something else. It doesn't matter. There's many different examples. But love that is organic just is. When you surrender that attachment, that idea to the divine, and you say, divine, show me what's supposed to be. You know, show me the organic way through soul alchemy. So no longer feeling that what you desire through soul and it's heart-based and it feels joyful is separate from your spirit in union. And this is our next step, beloved ones. 2015 will be amazing. It will be an epic year. It is an 8 universal number. That means infinity, it means infinite abundance. It also means this merging of the polarized opposites, our twin soul nature. That doesn't mean twin flame phenomena that's taking place. It means our twin soul nature, our understanding of our natural self, organic self, and being that, and not making compromises. Sometimes people still think that the unity is about compromises. When there's a word such as compromise, it clearly relates that in order to gain something, you need to sacrifice something else. It's not really the way of the new. Try to see the 4 basic levels of Sufi wisdom. The level 4 is oneness, it's unity. There's no compromise there. And it's just what naturally blends in will blend in, and so it is. It is the higher law of spirit. What doesn't blend in has a part to play, maybe does, but it doesn't mean that it will be always synergistic. And it's just experiments and experiences in creation. And when we value them, when we naturally go with the flow, when we're intuitive and at the same time we're in unknowing, we don't separate that. And that's when we really are masters of our reality. We don't push against the flow, we don't separate, we embrace everything, but we know what we choose as our reality because we understand that our reality comes from our creation self, which is unique. And we don't compromise our desires just because maybe somebody else would want something from us because they have expectations. This is what we're learning now. Although we still have boundaries, we can still let other people play in our sandbox, in our playground. We can. But we still have those boundaries when we say, okay, I love playing with you, but this is where I end and this is where you begin, and vice versa. And we understand that, and we don't see any separation in it. This was already written, this wisdom, in the Celestine prophecy. You know, how people, when they want and they push, they create this bubble that kind of puts this pressure onto somebody else, and they feel it in their aura. And it's not supposed to be that. It's not an organic way to relate to somebody and through somebody in union. So this will be our new step to master, and in these ascending communities that are not just physical, but you know, they're taking place in our hearts. This is what we're going to be continuously learning and integrating in our bodies. It's just time. It is time. Okay, I hope this helped you in some way and maybe embrace a bigger aspect of yourself. Just know that you don't have to separate what you feel with something vertical, that, you know, it means that the vertical is always there, and how soul guides you to it or through it. It's a language that you won't always understand. It's not, sometimes people say life doesn't make sense. Well, only the brain needs sense, you know. The soul doesn't need things to make sense because the soul guides intuitively, and it's beyond human logic, so let that go. Surrender to the divine, let the divine show you, and this is the basic secret of life. Stay true to your heart intentions, to your devotions, to what you know is you. It is your soul signature. Don't compromise it for something or a vision that is just not you. Respect another's vision as well, but you don't necessarily have to become a part of it. Like, engage in such depth that you feel like you're responsible for it yourself. You only are responsible for your own ascension and your own reality and your own way of how you serve the creation of all. So the basic thing in how we relate through these aspects that come to us in union, for example, how I receive is, I was just talking about this today with a lovely companion, and I think this conversation was needed before I did the video, is something came up, how I receive, and I receive always through divine knowing. That means that I don't need to feel what others are feeling in a way to know what they're going through. I just have, the way I receive is knowing. And how this person called this was like very mind-based, but not like lower mind-based, but just more like yang, like spirit-based. It just, you know, just know things. But the thing is that I'm not imbalanced in left and right brain hemisphere because I have that merged. Because when I know, I also integrate it through feeling in my body. So for me, knowing and feeling are not separate. And this is what I'm talking about this in this video, spirit and soul. Spirit is knowing, soul is that feeling. And when we can master that, we will understand how we receive. Maybe you're more dominant in another way of receiving, and that's okay, as long as you embrace it. You don't need to compare each other, how we, you know, relate to creation, how we have our gifts, how they're different, how we receive from the divine. And the most important thing is to understand that when you receive a certain way, focus on that, master it, that's knowing of thyself, and then use it to serve creation in your uniqueness. That's all mastery. It's so simple. It's simple as that. So take care. I'll talk to you next time. So much love, wisdom, and power as always, and I'll see you soon.